Excellent, look at that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the City of Canning for obviously inviting the department down to talk tonight. This originally presentation wasn't going to be given by me, so I've been madly up the back highlighting things, so hopefully I won't mess it up too much. So if my delivery isn't quite as good as it could be, that's my throwaway line to excuse my lack of presentation abilities. Okay, so about the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries. Okay, there are a number of roles and responsibilities that we perform. We provide advice and support to local governments. The way that we do that is there is an advice and support hotline. There's also an attached email address where people can email and or call inquiries into to ask particular questions. That is councillors, staff and members of the public as well. Now we can't give direct advice, we cannot give legal advice or anything like that, but we can give advice on processes that members of the community, councillors, all staff can do to get an issue dealt with. And I suppose it's important distinction is also we also are unable to get directly involved with that local government about a particular issue. That is not the role of the department, I suppose, is what I'm trying to get at with that. The other things that we do is we basically in the Local Government Act there's a number of powers that are vested in the Minister. Some of those powers are delegated to the department and the Director General to deal with those issues. So things that I'm thinking about that are relevant to councils in particular are conflict of interest waivers. So the Act has certain conflict of interest provisions. If you have one and you need ministerial approval, the department is the one that staffs and deals with those sort of issues on behalf of the Minister. We also provide an advisory role with respect to local laws. So all the local laws that are passed within this state, within the state of Western Australia, do get referred to the Minister, and the department provide comments and sometimes very detailed comments back to local governments about the manner and form of their local laws based on our history and experience with the Joint Standing Committee on Delegated Legislation. Another big role that we do is we obviously, on behalf of we assist the Minister in his role in overseeing local governments in the state. The way that this is done is that we receive a number of reports, things like budgets, annual reports, audit reports through the Office of Auditor General nowadays, where we look at that and we provide advice to the Minister and also to the local government to ensure that they are complying with the law. It's as simple as that. We also have a investigations or regulatory function. So we have a number of investigators that investigate complaints, do authorised inquiries and things of that nature. Probity audits as well, integrity audits can come up where they basically look at the operations of a local government to see if they're obeying the law. And I suppose the most recent examples of authorised inquiries at least that are most definitely public are the City of Melville. There was a report recently released in the City of Melville and likewise there was one into the Shire of Perenjori as well. So it's another function that we provide. My personal role in the department is I'm part of the legislation team. So I do, at the moment I'm part of the Local Government Act Review. So what I basically do is go around, talk to people, find out what kind of things we need to change in the Act and provide advice to the Minister about how we amend or what he should amend or consider amendment to the Local Government Act and associated regulations. Another part of what we do is there's also 3 boards and committees that are attached to that are established by the Local Government Act, primarily being the Local Government Advisory Board that does ward and district boundaries. You've also got the Local Government Grants Commission, as well as the Local Government Standards Panel, which oversees the conduct of local government councillors, and it is only councillors. Okay, other things that we do to provide advice is we also release operational guidelines, put out departmental circulars and things like that to advise local governments of issues that have arisen recently, or to provide just background on how the department views certain things. And another part, while it's not done by us, we also work in conjunction with the Office of the Auditor General nowadays because they're responsible or becoming responsible over the next 3 years for audits of all local governments in the state. So we work with the Department of the Office of the Auditor General as well. See if I get the right button. Or not. All right. Luckily I don't have many slides. So. Okay, the Local Government Act Review. As I said a little bit earlier, that's pretty much the function that I currently serve in the department. So in 2017, the McGowan government instructed us to conduct a review. It's the first significant review since 1995 when the Act was basically enacted in the first instance. Obviously, as I'm sure everyone can appreciate, a lot's changed since 1995, particularly with technology. So our view is basically to make a modern Act that empowers local governments to better deliver for their communities. Now we've done that, we made a decision a couple of years ago to do that in 2 phases. The first phase, phase 1 of the review, the bill attached to phase 1 has already passed Parliament. It passed late June. As part of that bill, the reforms that we have in there is candidate induction, universal training for council members, council member code of conduct, improvements to the CEO recruitment and performance review, simplifying the GIFTS framework, changes to the standards panel, and also increasing transparency. Now the main way of transparency is basically bringing information out of necessarily just the newspaper to more contemporary means through publication on websites and things like that as well. Now in saying that, I'm not going to go in detail about those particular reforms because most of them aren't particularly relevant to candidates at this point in time. However, some of them have come in, for example, candidate induction training and also universal training after you're elected is probably the 2 main ones. The GIFT framework, when you first get elected, if you're successful, will not come in until a few months after is what my guess is. Should work. Because there is some regulations that we need to draft before that actually commences. There we go. Okay, the relevant reforms to candidates. The most important one to take home tonight is that there is an online induction at that website. If you forget what the department's website is, yesterday I've got into, I'll Google and put local government candidate induction, and there was a link that came up, so hopefully it'll work on your Google as well. And then basically the main thing to take home from this is that you need to do, if you're going to nominate for council, or to be a councillor, you need to do that online induction. Okay, as part of the nomination in forms 8 and 9, and you can tell I'm a legislation nerd because I can quote the form numbers, is as part of those forms there is a requirement to make a declaration to say you've done that induction. If you make a false declaration, it's an offence. It's as simple as that. Now that induction is not hard, it's not onerous, and it's not intended to be a test or anything like that. The way that that's designed and structured is should take you no longer than 20 minutes, probably 40 at the very end. We do ask you to do some tasks, and basically the time that it takes is up to you in the sense that we tell you to do things like look at the agenda for your local government. So get on the City of Canning's website, have a look at the agenda. Go to a council meeting if you haven't been to one before, just to get that kind of idea of what you're actually getting yourself into. So in reality, if you just want to click next and not learn from it, I can't stop that, but what we're hoping is that you'll look at those things that we suggest and you go, you know what, I haven't been to a council meeting, maybe I should go down to at least one before I nominate, just to get that feel of what's going on. And I would assume by the fact that you went to the effort of coming in tonight, that more likely than not, if you are going to run, then you will go do that. And that's pretty much what we want. And that's what that's the kind of thing that we're after as part of that, that requirement. Universal training for council members. If you are successful, you will be required to do 5 modules. I won't go into each 5 module tonight, but ultimately there is an FAQs page on the department's website that will outline the modules you have to do. And the main thing to remember with that is you've got 12 months to do it after if you're successfully elected. And there is also no problem with starting the course if you're that confident before you're elected as well. It isn't quite available yet, but it will be in a couple of weeks. It should be available to do. The GIFTS framework, as I said, won't be introduced if you are first elected, although it will be hopefully by the end of the year. And there is also the new code of conduct and best practice standards for the CEO recruitment. It won't come in at the same time as the GIFT framework, but will come in, is being released for public comment shortly in a few weeks. And then after we finish that consultation through that, we will then obviously create that as regulations, and then that will come in as well. Okay, the Hands Up research project. So this is basically a research project done, it's a collaboration between the Department, the University of Western Australia and the West Australian Local Government Association, and I'm sure Tony from Wylga will probably mention it in his presentation as well. So what we're after basically is that there's little known about the demographics and why people run for local government as a councillor, and we want to know. And we want to know so then we can try to introduce policy and other things so that we can encourage a broader representative sample of people that want to run for council. That's pretty much what we're trying to achieve by that project. I'm not exactly sure what it says on that slide, but that's what we're after. The thing to remember too is that what we do is we want to encourage candidates to get in contact, and there are flyers up the back about this particular project. Take one of them, get in contact with a researcher, it's Dr. Jackie Hutchinson, and we also want to find out, even if you're not successful, why you wanted to run for council, so we get that better idea, so then we can develop programs to suit. And I do encourage you to do that as well. Okay, are there any questions? Please don't bombard me. Any questions? No, seriously? I'm probably not allowed to move because I'm on camera, so I'll stand here. Wow, happy with that. Thank you very much for your time. And please, I can't stress enough, please do the candidate induction. Even if you don't intend to run, do the candidate induction because it is useful information just to understand local government a little bit more. And that information we don't tell the world at large. Basically, the department has those records and that's kind of where it stays. Unless, of course, people are naughty. Yep.
After you do that online induction, does it give you a code or something? Can you go put that code in something, or is it just on a base browser so they can get that?
So basically what will happen is you'll get once you finish the induction, you'll get an email. So at the end of the induction, you put in your name, date of birth, district you're going to run in, residential address, I think, for memory. And you'll get an email saying, yes, congratulations, you've passed, basically. And then when you come to the nomination, you just tick a box as part of the declaration that also says, I think, for memory, you're over 18 and you haven't been charged with an indictable offence in the last 5 years. How? Look at that. Are you proud of me? I remember that. Any other questions? Please don't tell my boss I'm funny. She'll yell at me.